Gentlemen, today we're taking a look at mustache waxes that just aren't around anymore. Some will be missed, some will not. I have reviewed mustache waxes now for 9 years, which puts me over 50 mustache wax reviews alone, and that means that I have a lot of product. And when I was reorganizing the mustache waxes the other day, I realized that there's quite a few that are just no longer available, and I figured that I should shine a little bit of a spotlight on them just so that we can take a look back and kind of see some of the products, good and bad, that are no longer available. The first wax that I will say that I wish did not go under or was still available was from Bees Knees. Now this one you'll hear me talk about quite often in several different videos throughout my channel, just because it is a light medium hold that to me I think was done right. It's got a very nice scent of a lemon and cedar that, even though it's like 8 years old now, still smells absolutely great, and it's still very usable wax. In fact, from time to time, I'll use it just on the tips of the mustache here if things aren't quite going the way that I would like them to. Now, Bees Knees did come in a half-ounce tin, which was probably about my largest gripe about the product. However, it was definitely priced right about that $5 to $7 range for a half a tin. Unfortunately, I have no idea what happened to Bees Knees. They just kind of stopped being sold on Amazon along with their other pomades, which they really kind of specialized in at the time. The next wax is by a company that we are fairly familiar with here on the channel, which is Vintage Grooming. See, Vintage Grooming / Death Grip had Old Country. Old Country was one of their first mustache waxes, I do believe, and it is a light hold mustache wax that was fairly tacky, and in fact still is fairly tacky after all these years. It has a very nice kind of a cedarish scent to it, and it of course came in the 1 ounce tin that most wax comes in nowadays. Old Country is sold for about $10 to $12 depending on where you picked it up at the time, and I found it to be a fairly decent wax. Definitely one of the first that I reviewed that was a very tacky texture. That definitely took a little bit of getting used to. Now, although Old Country is retired, we might still see it in some form or another, whether it comes back as Old Country or possibly in the Death Grip line of mustache waxes. I guess only time can tell. And I can tell you that the next product had some very kind of wacky scents like bacon. There's a crab bisque, I think, as well as a apple scent. For the time, that was not a regular thing that you would find, and Stash Bomb was definitely one of them that came out with some of the wackier scents about 7-8 years ago. Now, Stash Bomb came in a 1 ounce tin. We see this kind of throughout mustache waxes here, and it has a very light scent of whatever the scent was supposed to be. Like this one here that I'm holding is bacon, and I can tell you it still smells like bacon. And it definitely was on the lighter to medium side of holds, but I liked it because of its scent as well as how easy it was to apply. Although at the time looking back at it, it did kind of make the hairs clump a little bit more than I would like to nowadays. And Stash Bomb at the time sold for an easy $12 for a 1 ounce tin. The next product was based out of the UK and was pretty much strictly available in a subscription type service, and that was Louen Nesco. Now they sent me this with some skin cream, I do believe, so the video on this was of both of those products, and I had to say that they use quite a bit of petroleum in their product for this, and therefore I do believe that it was much closer to just using straight Vaseline than it was actually using a mustache wax that could actually do any type of real styling. Now, because it was available only in a subscription service, I was unable to find what the half ounce that they sent me would have costed. Now, the next mustache wax comes from the UK as well, London to be more specific, and that is Mr. Natty's Twizzle Wax, and I do believe that I reviewed this just a year or so ago. Now, as you can see, I do have it in a box here because unfortunately, the only way for me to know what was inside this tin was to keep the box because, well, both labels kind of just wore off right away in my pocket. Now, Mr. Natty's had a very, very light lavender scent to it, but it was mostly natural scents that were coming through, and it was a medium hold wax, which was definitely a nice surprise compared to some of the other waxes that I've reviewed from that part of the world. Having an actual medium hold was rather pleasant. Now, Mr. Natty's was definitely on the pricey side for the half-ounce tin that it came in. I got it for about $13 for the half ounce, which is what usually the full ounce tins are, well, minus $1 or $2. Now, going from a small half-ounce wax, we're going to a whopping 2-ounce tin of wax with Wild Willies Mustache Wax. Now, Wild Willies is still a company, however, they have decided to focus mainly on beard products and beard growth. Now, Wild Willies did not have any scent added to it, so it was just a natural scent, and it definitely had a tackier texture to it, with a medium hold for $17 at the time that I recorded that review. And if I remember correctly, I found Wild Willies to be a fairly decent product. Another decent wax that I reviewed in the past that is, of course, no longer available is unfortunately Loma Wax Company. I reviewed this back in 2018, and I found it to be a stronghold wax because it definitely was, and it is on the waxy side of a texture. Now, the scent of this is a spicy vetiver and grapefruit scent, which I have to say pretty much it smells like a really nice cologne and makes a really nice scented mustache. And Loma Wax at the time was selling for about $15. Now, the next product, I had to put a disclaimer on the first part of the video because it was my brother's company. For about 6 to 8 months, I do believe, my brother had a small company called Wolfpack. And in that product line, he had some beard oils and balms, as well as a mustache wax. Now, this mustache wax was the first iteration, and then he sent me the updated, better iteration that he liked better, and that is what I reviewed for you guys. Unfortunately, I have since misplaced the tin for that wax, but I do have the original formula one here, and I do have to say that my brother just went on to other projects in his life, but someday I do hope to get the recipe from him, as it was a nice scent with thyme and bergamot, and it was a medium-ish hold wax, which is always nice to be able to, you know, use to fix little wild hairs here and there. Now, Wolfpack did sell their wax in a little half-ounce tin, which was nice for pocketability. But I do wish that he would have made them in the full 1 ounce, because then I might still have some laying around here somewhere. Unfortunately, I do not. Now, the next mustache wax was actually made by a company that focused for a while on female grooming and beautification type products like skin creams and that type of thing. And they decided they wanted to branch out, and therefore they started making the Ranger line of products. And of course, a stash wax was one of those products. It came in a nice 2-ounce container that I actually like because it is taller than it is wider, and it just kind of looks like a nice hefty tin, which I can appreciate. Now, even though that it is a very beeswax based product and it feels hard, it was a lighter hold mustache wax. And unfortunately, I was unable to find out what it sold for at the time of this review, mainly because, well, I forgot to watch my own video for this particular product. But it doesn't matter because you can't buy it now anyway. Now, going from a 2-ounce container, we're going to go down to a itty bitty 0.15-ounce container from Savage Mane. Savage Mane sold all 3 of their scents in these little 0.15-ounce kind of chapstick type containers that were really nice to be able to just put in the pocket or use for a little touch-up here and there when needed. Now, Savage Mane, although it was a small container, came in a strong hold and was right about $7 per little container, which, yes, is a little bit high, and yes, I do wish that it would have came in a 1-ounce tin, because I probably would have used these a bit more if they did. And lastly, out of the waxes that I have spoken about so far, the next ones are probably the most missed product, as well as one of the larger companies that just no longer produce products. And unfortunately, I am talking about Kenu Handlebar. They had a primary wax, which was a lighter wax, and then a secondary, which is really great for getting those curl tips to do what you wanted them to. And unfortunately, Kenu Handlebar just kind of stopped selling and stopped responding to emails and just kind of disappeared off the face of this earth. Now, I can tell you that Kenu Handlebar will go down in history as a very favorite wax of the people, as it had a very strong following, which I do believe is one of the reasons why I, as well as so many others, are surprised that Kenu Handlebar products are no longer available, because they had a strong line in the mustache waxes as well as the beard oils and balms. But unfortunately, sometimes we just don't get closure to things, and what happened to some of these mustache wax companies, we will never know. Now, as a bonus, I want to talk to you guys about a company that, as of right now, just has not made it to market, but that I actually did get a chance to use and review. You see, because I have so many reviews on YouTube, I've actually had several companies tell me in the past that they've watched my videos before making their products, or in the process of making their products, to see what I thought about the waxes. A couple of years ago, I had a company contact me, and what they were asking for was a pre-production review. And they didn't want a video review, they didn't want me to advertise it, they didn't want me to do anything, they just wanted kind of a written review of what I thought of their wax. And I did so, and this was from Wolf Mustache Wax. They had this, and I guess they were looking at doing some beard type products as well, if I remember correctly. Now, unfortunately, after a few emails and reviewing it and sending it out to them, I had a few comments about the size of tin. Like, I wanted to see the tin in a full 1 ounce available as well. I mentioned about how their label actually started to peel off within the first couple of days, as well as the back paper label was probably going to come off once it got wet a couple of times. So I had a very well written, and I went through everything just like I do in my reviews, and I actually did use the product for right about a week before I actually wrote anything down on paper as far as what my thoughts were on the product itself. Now, unfortunately, they actually had a decent product, but for some reason, it just never came to be. I did try contacting them a year or so ago, but via email, and I just never got a response back. So I'm not sure what happened with that, but I do hope that eventually they will get it together and come out with Wolf products, because when they do, I will be here ready to review their product. Now, gentlemen, I want to know down in the comment section, what product would you still be using regularly if it didn't go the way of these mustache waxes and just kind of disappear off the face of this earth? To check out a mustache wax that's been around for a very long time with very good reviews, make sure to check out my Firehouse wax review right here. Down below, that's going to be a video that you may enjoy as well. Until next time, as always, you have a good one.